Linda, do you see Dawn's here?
Waiting for our other candidate to arrive. So that
Wait.
let me go ahead and call the meeting to order. It's 5:34. Let's all stand and do the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, 1.2 is adopt the agenda. Is there any reason to change the agenda as it was posted?
I see none.
No, okay, is there a motion?
I'll make a motion to adopt the agenda as posted.
Is there a second?
Second.
It was hard to hear.
Yeah.
It's been moved and seconded. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Bianca?
Aye.
Melissa?
Aye.
And I also approve. Motion carries, the agenda remains the same. Item 2, public comments on items that are not on the agenda. Under this item, the public is invited to address the board regarding items that are not on today's agenda. Please keep your comments concise, brief, and limited to 3 minutes. The board is not allowed under the law to take action on matters that are not on the agenda. Should comments from the public pertain to a charge or complaint against an employee of Northern United Humboldt Charter School or Northern United Siskiyou Charter School, the board encourages the speaker to utilize the school's written complaint procedures to pursue the matter. The public will have an opportunity to comment on all agenda items as those are heard. Are there any public comments to be made at this time? Any at this different centers? No? All right. Item 3 is the interview of the NUCS board member candidates. Okay. So Amy and Brian, welcome and thank you for your interest in serving on the Northern United Charter School Board of Directors. We are a charter school that emerged from the previous Mattole Valley Charter School. We're seeking a candidate to fill the remainder of a term which expires December 2023. The NUCS Board of Directors is a hybrid of a traditional school board and a nonprofit board of directors. We serve both Siskiyou County and Humboldt County. 2 directors come from Siskiyou County and 3 come from Humboldt. We teleconference our meetings, as you can see. Our board of directors terms are staggered so that every year, 3 members' terms expire, followed by the following year when the other 2 expire. We typically meet the 2nd Thursday of each month, except for July, when we have no meeting, and June, when we have back-to-back meetings for budget approval and adoption. Adjustments are made to that schedule as necessary. There may be additional special board meetings as the need arises. Prior to the pandemic, we collectively met together twice a year here in Cutton and in Mount Shasta. We are governed by Articles of Incorporation bylaws, the Brown Act, California Education Code, and California Government Code. Our officers are chairperson, vice chairperson, president director, secretary, and treasurer. I'd like to now introduce our directors and officers. So Bianca Garza is the vice chairperson. Melissa Johnson is the board member. Rosemary Conkler is a board member who unfortunately is ill and not able to make it. Sherry Lovett, our president director, Linda Speck, the secretary, and Tammy Piccone, treasurer, and I'm Jerry Cox, the current chairperson of the board. We have a list of questions for you to answer, after which we will deliberate and make our decision. Listen carefully. If you do not understand the question, please ask to repeat it or for clarification. Some questions have multiple parts. Please speak loudly so that the Siskiyou folks can hear you, and we will rotate between us asking the questions. Is that clear?
Yes.
Okay. So Bianca will start, followed by Melissa, and then followed by me. And in order to decide who goes first, and then we're going to switch them so that no one of you has the advantage of hearing the question first and then thinking about a potential response. So I've written down a number, and so I want you to pick a number between 1 and 25. Amy?
12.
Okay. Brian?
24.
24. The number was 9. So Amy will go first.
Well, you only have to go first half of the time.
That's
You're right,
true. That's true.
but to start us off with that. So with that procedural aspect out of the way, Bianca.
Thank you. Amy and Brian, thank you both for being here. We appreciate your interest and your time and energy this evening. The first question that we have for you is to tell us about yourself. What makes you the best candidate to serve on the Northern United Charter Schools Board of Directors? And why should we select you to serve and fill our current vacancy?
Can you say the yeah? Can you say the question again a little bit louder? Sorry.
No problem.
Yeah, you're not having the clarity come through.
Difficult with the mask.
Yeah, maybe, take
I know.
your mask off for a minute.
I don't know. That'd be appropriate. All right. What makes you the best candidate to serve on Northern United Charter Schools Board of Directors? And why should we select you to serve and fill our current vacancy?
What makes you the best candidate, and why should you choose me? I don't know that there is a best candidate, but I will answer to the best of my ability. I'm available. When I applied, the space had been vacant for a significant amount of time. And as a parent, I was hoping that someone would step up and fill that space. So that was my initial, I have time and space and the ability to fill the spot. I also have an extensive background in working for nonprofits, working for cities, working for churches. I have a huge wide range of skills when it comes to budgeting, when it comes to assessing issues and making decisions. I'm really open-minded. I don't really lean one way or the other way when it comes to views. And I really just want what's best for the kids and for our school district. So I think you should choose the best person. I don't know that I'm that person, but I would like to be. So, thank you.
Thank you. Bianca, you want to read the question again for Brian?
Sure. Brian, what makes you the best candidate to serve on the Northern United Charter Schools Board of Directors? And why should we select you to serve and fill our current vacancy?
I feel that I would be the best candidate because I do have a background on being on school board of North Coast Children's Services. I was actually selected to be on their policy council, which actually made policy decisions. And then I was selected to be on the board, which actually made a lot of financial decisions, which is in the millions of the dollars, if you understand budgeting. And I also have been involved with community, local community, not just on a board, but just on my own time of South Eureka Neighborhood Alliance, which is actually making our community a better place. And school, I feel, is all about community, especially charter schools. And I do feel that I was also on a group liaison to Eureka City Schools already. And I've been on the fundraising committee. And there's something that I don't always tell everybody, which I feel like I need to, is that I volunteer my time at Faith Center on Celebrate Recovery with children. And I do that because I feel like sometimes with children, I have my own children, and I felt like a need to serve in the community that way. And I do it Monday on my own time and on free time. I don't get paid for it. And I feel like it's a calling that I have. And it's people who, parents who are in recovery, some, kids who may be traumatized, as with ACEs and stuff like that. And I really feel like that with the experience that I have, I feel like I bring that to the table. And I'm not just open-minded, but I think as being a board member, it's not just your own ideas, but collaborating. And I feel that there's not really particular person who would be better or not, but I feel like that I can bring that to this and bring my own ideas as well as collaborating my ideas.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you guys for those answers. It's nice to meet you both. Okay, so our bylaws reference when filling a vacancy, we are to look for candidates who have experience in one or more of the following areas: education, government, law, business, finance and accounting, fundraising, facilities, or public relations. What experience do you have in any of these areas?
Brian, you go first.
Okay, do we need to name them all or one at a time to clarify?
Any one of these areas, actually.
Okay, well, I can say that I have experience with some financing, with being on the board of North Coast Children's Services. We actually said we had a $2 million budget. And so when I was on their board, we would balance the budget. We would also, we would have balance with the different insurance policies that they had. We would, talk about that. And it's a learning, let me say this, it's a learning experience when you deal with budgeting, especially when you have millions of dollars. But I also feel that I have experience with education as well, because I have my own children, with my wife being a teacher, and my kids being special needs and with IEP. So I think that's a very crucial, important being on the board, because you can have any board member not understanding those processes. And I feel like I can understand the process of making some decisions. Because my kids have IEPs and I've been in multiple IEPs, and I've actually have done some research with that. As well as I feel that I also have different fundraising abilities as well. That's very important. I have fundraised for North Coast Children's Services as well as our local community. I think that's very important in this day and age, especially with charter schools. I have done, I've been on committees with Alice Burney, as well as some of the local schools here. So those are the experiences that I bring that I think are very important. And that's, what I stated on my application as well as what I have. I think that's pretty much it.
Thank you. Would you like her to repeat the question?
Oh, no, that's okay.
Okay.
Let's see. So my experience is unique in the sense that almost every place that I've worked for has something to do with each one of those areas. So I worked for the city of North Bend, Oregon for 15 to 20 years on and off in various positions, including management of a pool, which was 100% run by donations in the city. And inside of that, of course, it was budgeting, running a giant facility, but also fundraising because there's never enough money in the city. So significant amounts of fundraising and a lot of thinking about outside the box, and that living in a community that actually was not well off. And so that was the start of my experience with fundraising and budgeting and finances and business, and all of those things are really attached to running an aspect of city things. And then after that, I moved to the West Coast. My history is in the Coast Guard. My husband's retired military member. So we live lots of places. That's why my application looks kind of weird. But I moved to New Jersey, worked for the city there for a while. Also in the aquatics department, which is also, I guess I should mention, has always been focused on teaching children how to swim and boat safety, all of those things. I wrote my own curriculum for an aquatics program. And then eventually, which I'll get to in a minute, I ended up training all of the teachers and the lifeguards and first responders, actually eventually for first aid and CPR. So all of that kind of intermingled together at those areas. And then I got married and had babies. So I kind of just did that for a while. We did homeschooling, which we learned was not for us, which is how we ended up here. But I also worked for the YMCA of Greater New Orleans, which, as you know, YMCAs in general are huge nonprofits that are completely funded by fundraising. And the YMCA we were at was also focused on aquatics and health, along with nutrition training, and, as I said, training first responders, and then after school programs as well as summer camps. So that's the education part of that as well. But of course, budgeting and also having to do payroll and having to do, what's it called? Scheduling, like all of the things that goes along with that. And then we moved here about 5.5 years ago, 6 years ago. And the kids have been coming here for 4 years, I think, because we tried to homeschool the first year. I'm not a homeschool mom, but we are thankful for the teachers that we have here. But being here, I have been employed at Eureka Faith Center for 4 years now. And I have moved from the children's department, where I actually created the curriculum for our training for the kids. I also was in charge of the sexual harassment training, in charge of keeping our children safe training, all of those. And as I've moved into Eureka Faith Center more, I'm now the interim executive pastor. I also am the associate pastor, and those hats are very different. The executive pastor does all the financial things, all the budgeting things, all the HR things, all the scheduling things, and fundraising, lots of fundraising. Churches actually don't have that much money. So, and then including big projects like a new roof, a new kitchen, facilities, things like that. And then the associate pastor hat is more care related. So I care for people. I do funerals. I do grief counseling. I help with celebrate recovery. I oversee it actually. So yeah, my scope is actually pretty broad. If that answers your question.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. So Amy, we'll go first on this one. Are you familiar with parliamentary procedures such as Robert's Rules of Order? And first, this has got multiple parts.
Okay.
So, keep that in mind. Robert's Rules of Order. What is your familiarity with the Brown Act? And what does chain of command mean to you in terms of school governance?
Okay. When it comes to policies and procedures in the Brown Act and parliamentary procedures, the only experience I really have with that is being on councils, which I don't think are exactly the same as a board. So we have motions, we have, pass, no pass, yay, nay, aye, all those things, even on our own church council. And then in the YMCA, we had things like that as well. But the directors weren't allowed to be a part of the board. So we would just observe or be there to talk about things, but you weren't allowed to be a part of the board. So my experience is only an observation and only what has happened, what I've experienced at the church, which I believe is pretty different from what this is. And city council meetings. I mean, I know there's lots of civil ratings, but councils and boards, again, are different things. What was the last question? I'm sorry.
Chain of command.
Oh, chain of command. Chain of command, because my husband's in the military, I understand it explicitly. If you explain it, hierarchy alone is so important, and accountability inside of that is really important. I don't know if you guys have done the Enneagram. I'm a loyalist. So like if you explain the hierarchy to me, I am 100% predisposed to adhere to that standard. Unless someone else would be hurt or harmed, that's my kind of my lane. But in that structure and hierarchy, there should be protection for people to not be taken advantage of. But I totally understand what that means.
Okay, thank you.
Okay,
Ryan,
could you repeat the question, please?
are you familiar with parliamentary procedure such as Robert's Rules of Order? What is your familiarity with the Brown Act? And what does chain of command mean to you in terms of school governance?
Okay, well, I will say this, that I was trained at North Coast Home Services on the policy council and as a board member, because we did follow that. But in all honesty, it's been a long time, so I don't remember it fully. But I was trained in that years ago. As far as chain of command, I believe that's actually very important. I mean, even with any kind of complaint or any kind of thing that you have or that you deal with, I think it's very important that you follow that, whether it be the board or if there's any kind of situation. I think that it's very important that you follow those steps to do that, not just kind of go here and it's all out of order. I mean, from my own experience, it's better to sort of try to deal with it where it needs to be dealt with and then follow that.
Okay, thank you. So Brian will go first. Bianca?
Brian and Amy, what do you see as the basic purpose of a public charter school? And what do you see as the role of the board of directors in fulfilling that process?
Okay, I'm sorry, can you repeat the first part again?
What do you see as the basic purpose of a public charter school? That's the first part.
Okay,
What do you see as the role of the board of directors in fulfilling that process?
okay, what was the second part? I'm sorry.
Okay. What do you see as the role of the board of directors in fulfilling that process? The purpose.
Okay. Can I have her repeat the first one and not answer it and then answer the second one, just because it's not possible?
Up to you.
Okay, so can you repeat the first part and then I can answer that and I can answer the second part?
What do you see as the basic purpose of a public charter school?
The purpose of a basic charter school, you said?
Public charters.
Public charter school. I feel that the basic purpose of a public charter school is to serve the community the first foremost. I feel like it plays an important role in the community because you have so many different students that are different, that need that extra education that they're not always getting in a regular public school. I feel that it serves more than a lot of people don't understand. And what was the second one?
What do you see as the role of the board of directors in fulfilling that purpose?
I see that the role, if being a board member, I feel like that you to make a difference in the community. I feel like that's the role. To help fulfill what is missing in the community that regular public schools can't do. And that would be smaller classrooms, to implement things for students, teachers, that would include, helping with any IEPs to support parents, and teachers. And I feel like that they can make that difference that public schools are not able to do in a larger classroom setting. I feel like that our role is not just for supporting teachers and students, but also for fundraising. I think that's an important role as well, because without money, you're not going to get anywhere. And I feel that you got to go beyond what your role is in order for a charter school to be. You don't just sit on a board and just do things. You actually take action. And what I mean by action, you go out and do the footwork, the dirty work that nobody else wants to do. And I feel that you need a board member that really has that heart to do it. If not, then it doesn't look good. I've been on a board in the past where I gave everything, being on the policy council, being on the board member for North Coast Social Services. You have to be committed. And I think that is your goal, is to be beyond 100% commitment, not just a little bit of commitment, but beyond what you would normally do. That would be my answer.
Thank you.
Amy, do you want me to repeat the question?
No, that's okay. I think the purpose of a public charter school is to afford an equal opportunity to every student to have a fair and valuable education, while paying attention to details that maybe bigger public schools can't. I think that the role of the charter school is always the kids first, and to hold the teachers and faculty to a standard, and to care for them in whatever way need be. I think the most important thing about a charter school really is the intimacy and personalization of the care and the teaching. I also like the freedom that is offered to the teachers. I also like the extra communication. I know personally, I feel like I have an exceptional amount of communication between, I mean, even if I would have access to the board if I needed it, from teachers to principals to whatever else. I think caring for the family as a whole is really a priority of a public charter school. It's not just about one kid, it's about working together in community really, to have your school make an impact. And I think the board's role in that is to really steward things. You steward money, you steward people, you steward programs, and affording the best care to the students and to the teachers and the faculty is really the #1 goal of the board. I think also having wisdom and discernment when it comes to those things, what is worth our time, what is not worth our time. And then also, I think delegation is a big part of that. When it comes to fundraising, we can't do it all ourselves. Empowering other people, whether it be teachers or parents or even the students, to participate in those fundraisers and do whatever they need to do with joy and encouragement, and really with a sense that they're contributing to their own education and to the education of their children.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
So Amy, you go first. Melissa.
Thank you. Okay, here is a scenario. You are at a store and a parent approaches you about an issue involving that parent's student and/or school. How would you respond?
Like just any issue in general. Okay. The first thing I would do is listen. Most people just want to be heard, and sometimes that even resolves their issue. The second thing I would do would be to relate in a healthy way, not sharing information of any sort. I understand how you're feeling. I'm sorry you feel that way. And then really communicating that personally, I can speak to whoever I need to speak to, have a conversation. I can't guarantee anything. I know, and I could answer honestly that I know that everyone has your child's best interest at heart. I know that everybody doesn't think the same way, but part of it is working together. And really just, listening overall is the #1. I am aware that we can't fix everybody's issues, and having experience dealing with disgruntled parents and other children's ministry issues, really, there's sometimes there's things you can do to make a difference, but sometimes it's just listening and not being negative, be positive, and encouraging, and really focusing on the care of the child. That everybody really does want what's best for your child. So that's it.
Okay, thank you.
Brian, should I repeat the question?
No, that's okay. I understand it. I do feel like that you can show empathy to what they're saying. At the same time, as being on the board of director, you gotta kind of take a step back a little bit and kind of take it from a professional way. It goes back to that chain of command. Obviously when you're at a school, you don't, depends how much the seriousness of it is. You listen, you don't necessarily have to give advice. You can try to resolve it, but at the same time, you can ask questions such as, have you gone and talked with this and dealt with this situation? Because I do think it is very important that if at all possible that, parent can, resolve it on a lower level before they get to the top. Because as a parent, a young parent years ago, I used to do that. I used to be a parent where I used to go straight to somebody. And I think in all fairness, it would be better to listen and not, and try to direct them in a healthy, positive way to that person and try to let them know that, hey, and ask them if they need any help or any assistance or what you can offer your help. But other than that, but try to direct them back to whatever the policy is. I think that is very important. And that would create I think with my wife being a teacher, I think it's very important that you're not trying to, you let them know that this is, if they can go try to resolve that without going over somebody's head, unless it can't be resolved. And then you try to, let them know this is what you can do. But I think it is very important to try to resolve it, in a different way. That's my answer.
Okay, thank you. So Brian, you go first.
Okay.
As a director, what do you see as your primary purpose or role? How would you fulfill that role, both as an individual and as a member of the governing board?
I see my role as a beacon to the community. And I say that because I have children who are special needs. I feel that charter schools have gotten a bad rap over the years, and I'm sure you know. I feel that charter schools are in this area not long ago, and any anywhere, are being shut down. And I think you have to have a strong board that really supports that core. Even though I do have children in public school, my stance was back in 2018, and I let the public school know that I support charter school 100% because they serve a community. They serve the students who can't be served in public school, that need that extra help, that need that support that you don't see in public schools. I feel that I would play that role. I feel that I would play a role in the fundraising part because I have connections in the community. Like I said, I help run the North Coast, the Eureka Neighborhood Alliance, and I deal with money constantly, trying to raise funds for the city, our local neighborhood, to better our neighborhood. And I feel that with that, there's always room, in a humbling way, there's always room to improve with charter schools, to make it grow. Nothing ever stays the same. And I think in order for a charter school to succeed, you gotta allow growth, even in your own life, your own talents that you have. I think if people, let's say for instance, if you're in a building or in a place for so long, and you decide as a board you want to move or you want to do something, well, you got to have a vision, you got to have a goal. Well, that's where I would come in, because I think without vision you have nothing, and that's for anything. I feel that with being successful, you got to have that. You got to have the vision first, then you got to have the goal, and that's where I feel like my expertise would come in, of what I have, not just volunteering and doing things that I've already done before. I feel that I have that drive to do it.
Thank you. Amy, do I need to repeat the question?
Can I have clarification in the sense that you're talking about director, like Sherry's position, director? What do you mean by
Board member.
director?
Board member.
Oh, okay. Sorry, I was confused for a second. Can you repeat the question?
As a director, i.e. Board member,
Thank you.
what do you see as your primary purpose or role? How would you fulfill that role, both as an individual and as a member of the governing board?
Can you repeat it one more time? Sorry, my brain kind of.
Okay, that's fine. As a director, what do you see as your primary purpose or role? And how would you fulfill that role, both as an individual and as a member of the governing board?
I think the primary purpose and role is to absorb information in order to make decisions. And for me, process-wise, that involves evidence-based information, research, history, really either finding or providing resources with that information in order to make an educated decision when it comes to the things that you're taking care of. And I think personally, that is kind of, that's who I am as a person in general. Because obviously in my profession, I rely on a significant amount of faith in people, in other things as well. But personally, who I am is somebody who wants to weigh and balance every decision, really with the thought in mind of what's best for the majority. And then when it comes to individual issues, really looking big picture and seeing a whole story and not just one issue. And that's both, as a board member and as an individual. I think it's really important to have a broad perspective and to know that the decisions that you're making, both as a board and personally, can affect things and have a ripple effect for time to come. And in that way, I think it really is a big responsibility, and it is, something to consider. Thank you.
So thank you. So Amy, you'll go first. Bianca?
What do you appreciate about Northern United Charter Schools?
Oh, I might cry. I appreciate that I'm going to use the word you, Northern United Humboldt Charter School gives everyone a voice. From the littlest TKer that is there to the oldest grandma that's helping raise a child. My heart is that everyone would be cared for and heard, and I believe that you give that space. I also believe that Northern United Humboldt Charter Schools have the kids' best interests at heart, which is why we're here. That's why we've stayed here. I also love the fact that it is the whole spectrum of ages. If I so choose to have my kids here until they graduate high school, I can find a place for them and they can have space to do that. And I also appreciate that you cater to each age individually, where they are, with applicable curriculum and care. Even when it comes to, my kids are in speech, they're cared for, they're loved, I'm checked in with. And I have witnessed teachers and administration caring for students and families over and over and over again. I've had conversations with, Rebecca before about issues and things going on. And the way that she represents Northern United just gives me the sense that everyone is taken care of, and everything is decided responsibly. I remember at one point they were talking about sex ed and some other things going on, and I did actually come to a board meeting, and the way that everything is handled and cared for, like I said before, really takes into account the spectrum and the different variety of students we have. I love the equality. I love that no matter what happens and no matter who a child is, they're looked at for their individuality, and they're not judged, and neither are parents. I know, because I don't know, I'm one of those people that people talk to a lot. So, and because I am confidential in my job, I know things. But because of that, I also see how people are treated on a different level. And I think for me, that is the biggest appreciation, both as a parent and as an outsider in the community looking in at Northern United Humboldt Charter School. And I can 100% recommend our school, and I mean all the schools, with confidence. I know we're doing open enrollment right now, and I just went and put posters everywhere. But it really is, it feels safe. It feels like a safe place to be. And I think that's really important.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Brian? Would you like me to repeat the question?
No, I do. No, you don't have to. I actually come from a different perspective because I do not have children in your charter school. But I will say that my wife was a former employee of you guys, and I heard nothing but great, wonderful things. And I do know some of the employees that actually do work here, actually. And things that they have said resonates with what Amy Snyder has said. So I would say that in my experience of knowing from different community members, such as my wife and teachers that work here, and even some of the aides, that you guys have a great and wonderful school, and that you treat not just the children, but with the employees with the respect that they deserve. And I really feel too, another thing that I followed some years ago when you guys were transitioning to a different school, I really feel like you guys really did a great transition. And kind of, to be honest, to put up a good fight with Eureka City Schools and that whole deal with them of trying to shut you guys down. And I really feel like you guys really transitioned really well and had a really strong board and staff that really stuck with it. Other than that, I don't have any personal experience, but I do know, just hearing about it, like I said, from my own wife and some of the staff here that I do know, and I do know one of your board members, Rosemary. Just hearing from them, I feel like I'm connected just because of knowing, of what I know and my connection of things that I see with the charter community, with to really learn more about. That would be my answer.
Thank you.
Thank you guys for your thorough and thoughtful answers. So, what would you like to accomplish as a board member? What is your highest priority and why?
Well, as a board member, it wouldn't be, first and foremost, it wouldn't be just about me. As a board member, I would want to collaborate with the board, with parents, especially the community. That is the first most important. I would like to throw ideas out there and ask. That would be the first most important thing. I think transparency among parents is important because sometimes as a board, I don't want to be making these decisions without transparency and have these ideas. I think it's important to really collaborate, not just your school, but with your community around you. Without the community, there is no board. And if I were to have a vision of my own that I could share with everybody, and I'll use that word share and collaborate, is to see the charter schools stay small, but to get more funding. I really feel like charter schools can grow, like with arts and the after school programs, because in this day and age, funding is scarce with among charter schools compared to public schools. And I would do anything to fight for that. I think that, is important. And, that's crucial to charter school. Sometimes you have, from what I understand and what I know and done my own research, sometimes parents or teachers, there's not enough money for raises. And then sometimes these charter schools just kind of get smaller and smaller and smaller. But I'm all about growth. Whether it be into a bigger building, whether it to be a bigger funding. Those are the key things, because kids, need arts, need the arts today. They need more than, we need something that can compare to public school, but keep that same charter feel that you can support people who are on IEPs, but still have a good enrichment in education. That's it.
Thank you.
Would you mind repeating the question, please?
Of course. What would you like to accomplish as a board member? What is your highest priority and why?
I think those things are definitely intertwined. I think especially during COVID, there are a lot of things that we lost. There's also some disconnect with certain families. And honestly, I remember at one point a fear for the children being cared for. So I think one of the priorities is, which I think we've done well but can do better, is technology. And then some sort of education as to using technology. It's funny because my husband makes fun of me for not knowing how to restart the wireless internet. But I'm not the only parent that doesn't know how to do that. So when it comes to all of these other options that we have for our students, that's great, but we haven't educated parents how to do that. And absolutely, if somebody came in, I know that anybody would help them do that. But I think in a more organized structure, that would be possible. Obviously making it free, making it at a time that they can do it. Maybe when they pick up the kids from school, we have an after school program. That's a whole different subject. I would love to go back and see, Amanda's running program, for example, when they had kids running after school. It's outside, it's healthy, it's good for them. And it's something extra that they can do extracurricular when they haven't really been able to do. I know that's hard also at a smaller, even though it's a public charter school, is getting plugged into sports, getting plugged into community events. I really think it's important also to cater all of those opportunities to minorities and make sure that they're taken care of. I know that we have a Native American option for certain programs. Are we looking at all the minorities? Are we looking at all the things? And then families in transition, families that might be broken, that need support in that area. I remember, going to school, we even had like Al-Anon. We had programs where kids could go and talk about their problems at home in safe spaces. Even in group settings where kids are more likely to talk to each other in safe spaces than they are to talk to adults. I'd really like to see some programs where they feel safe and cared for, that maybe, it all affects their education and in one way or another, but maybe it's not an education-based thing. Maybe it's fun, maybe it's healthy for their mental or emotional well-being. Or maybe they need tutoring. I mean, that was the other part of COVID. I mean, I know one of my kids was like, all of a sudden, I don't know how to do math. And guess what? Mom doesn't know how to do Common Core math. So just a few little programs that are really available. And then part of that also would be obsessively making sure that parents know it's available and it's free. Because I know that sometimes the communication is dropped, and communication, especially to help our kids, and making every opportunity for that to happen. And with that, of course, comes funding and all the other things. But I think the priority would be those things.
Thank you.
Amy, you'll go first. And some of these questions may seem to be redundant. And it's really because of how you've both answered previous ones. I'm aware of that. So if selected, what will you do to become an effective board member?
I'm going first, right? Okay.
Yes.
For me, in order to be effective, I think I would need a little bit more training because I've never been a board member. A little bit more education as to what that means. What tools do I need to become effective that I don't already possess? I'm absolutely aware of my, I don't know, my downfalls or my non-strengths. So really that would be more just to listen to what, after getting to know each other, what you think I need to know. I mean, I'm really teachable. So I can't really say that I know what I need to learn. But absolutely, I love reading, I love research, I love all of those things. So just learning what I need to learn in order to accomplish the goals of the board.
Brian?
All right, well, I would probably need to learn of how you operate, because every board, any board, has their own way of thinking of running. It would be good to know, even though I've been on the board and I do have that experience that I bring, I think it'd be good, it'd bring a little bit of humility here, relearning, I would say, how a board is run, and learning new things. Learning is important. Listening especially is important. I think that's one thing of catching up, like what have you done in the past year? That's very important, not just sit on the board and go, okay, let's move on to business, but really having a conversation. As a board member, I'd be knocking on Sherry's door going, okay, catch me up if you can in your time, what's going on, or speak with you, whatever is preferable, of like, and I would ask, basically wanting to know from you guys, where are we going? What are we doing? What do you see us, where we see this board going? Those are the questions I would have to be an effective board member, because that would put me in a spot like, okay, where do you see this board going in the next 5 months, 6 months? I want to be an effective board member and ask those questions. And in order for me to be on this board of saying, okay, what do I need to do to make this effective? And that's by listening to the director, to all the other board members, to the president. And that's basically what I would be doing.
Thank you. So,
Thank you. So Brian, first again. Yep. Describe how an effective board ensures that there are opportunities for parents and community members to express their views on any given issue that the board is considering.
Okay, can you repeat that again a little bit louder?
Describe how an effective board ensures that there are opportunities for parents and community members to express their views on any given issue that the board is considering.
Did you say views?
Views, yes.
Oh, yeah, I think it's, I believe that you can do that as a board is, obviously you would, the first thing you would announce your meeting and invite the public within, you have a certain amount of time to do that. I think that's important. I think the board can also let staff know, you have an upcoming meeting and, share with the parents, because sometimes as a parent, you don't always, know when a board meeting is. And sometimes you have nobody that comes to your board meeting. And I think that was something that, if I was on any board, I think I would want more parents involved, to try to get them involved and be, effectively communication is key. That I would do just to make sure, if I need to talk to somebody or let other staff know or somebody, hey, how do we do besides advertising it or publicly posting it? And then, and find some ways to get them to voice, and even by a flyer. I noticed with other charter schools and other schools, they find more effective ways for parents to give their views and to make them feel comfortable welcoming them and give them that voice that they need. And just lending an ear. That's how I would do it.
Thank you. Amy, do you need me to repeat the question?
Yes, please.
Describe how an effective board ensures that there are opportunities for parents and community members to express their views on any given issue that the board is considering.
Yeah, I think the most important thing is to be as vocal as possible. When you're passionate about something and you talk about it, then other people become passionate about it. And I think the biggest thing today is to use every mode of technology possible. So if you're going to post on Facebook or Instagram, if you're going to tweet something, if you're going to send out an email, send a paper home from school. The other thing that I really love that we do that I don't know how it could be tweaked, but I love the surveys that you send. I realize that not everyone actually checks their email and not everyone actually takes a survey, but that could be as easy as putting like a bright colored postcard in the kids' homework packet saying, hey, there's a survey, check your email. I think the other thing that parents need to be reminded of is to update their information, their contact information, because I know we have access to the text system, we have access to emergency system requirements, but even us, we just moved and I haven't told anyone what our new address is yet. That just popped in my mind and now I feel guilty. But yeah, so I think that we have to use everything that's available to us, and honestly, having the teachers tell the kids and do it in a way that they're excited. They come home and they go, hey mom, guess what? And honestly, that's how I found out that, I read the emails, I knew it was going on, but I didn't realize that the board seat wasn't filled until one of the kids came home and said, Miss Lindy said there's still not a board member. And I'm like, oh, okay, message received. So I think that we really have to utilize all modes of communication. And we have to communicate in a excited, passionate way about, yes, a board meeting is not necessarily the most exciting thing, but it doesn't matter. And the more you passionately vocalize that to people, the more interested they really are. So.
Thank you.
Melissa?
Yes, thank you. Identify an important issue that you have felt strongly about, and describe how you would balance community concerns, student needs, state and federal law, staff considerations, and your own personal values and beliefs to determine how to vote on that issue.
Wow, go big or go home, right? Well, we could talk about LGBTQ plus issues. That's something that is predominant in life right now. As the parent of a trans person, it really is important to me that all parents and children are heard regardless of anything, really. I think it's really important, and I realize it's not popular, especially as a pastor, but really to love everyone. And I think that's what running a school, any board, any district is about, is loving the children and loving the parents. And if people don't remember what they ate in third grade, I mean, some of us do, because it was really good. But they remember how they were treated in third grade. They remember how they were cared for in third grade. And I think when it comes to those issues, we have to look especially at our requirements as a school as to how we have to deal with those things. We also have to honestly weed out people who are not considerate, kind, caring, in regards to diversity of any kind. It's also important to respect the law and to adhere to it, especially as a charter school who is very, we have rules that we have to abide by. And I think it's also really important to, like I said before, listen to people who maybe don't have the same opinion. But again, most of those things are only solved by listening. You're not going to change someone's opinion, but they should feel heard and cared for. And I really think that it's important to talk about those things. It's important to talk about those things with the kids. It's important to talk about those things with the parents, so that everyone knows that our number one care and concern is for the children. So, yeah.
Thank you.
Can you repeat the question in full, please?
Yes, no problem. Identify an important issue that you have felt strongly about and describe how you would balance community concerns, student needs, state and federal law, staff consideration, and your own personal values and beliefs to determine how to vote on that issue.
Well, there's actually two, and I'll tell you why. I feel that two of the thing is with special needs children who don't, that have a hard time in school, that need the extra help. And another is Black Lives Matter. I really feel like those are two important issues to me because I feel that there is discrimination within the school systems for both. And I tell you why, because in my own experience, my son, who wasn't getting his needs met in public school, and things I've heard from different parents with many charter schools that they're not getting their IEPs met, and I've been hearing about that in the community at many different charter schools. Those are the two things that I think that I would balance to try to make it better in a charter school setting, to help with, make sure that we are meeting those federal laws, especially when it comes to IEP, and making sure they're met. You, from the community side, you hear people coming and going that in a public school, sometimes when a charter school, that they're not being met. And I think as a board member and having special needs child myself, I would be more in tune to that because of the experiences that I have. In regards to minorities, I would make sure that they felt welcome in a setting and would want more diversity that I've seen. And I don't see that as much in a lot of charter schools and with public school. There's just been a lot of chaos situations in the community. And it's a very difficult thing to talk about, but I'm with the public, And I feel that I very strongly and passionately about those two things. In my own personal belief, I always, any decision or anything that I make, I take myself out of the equation. It's not, like I said in the beginning, it's not about me. It is about the parents. It is about the teachers. It is about the community. That's where it lies. That's it.
Thank you. All right, so we've come to the last question. And so, Brian, do you have any questions for us?
Make sure it's multi-part. Really easy and whispered.
Oh, where do you guys see going with this particular charter, public charter school? That's my question.
Where are we headed?
Where would you like to be?
Oh, where would we?
Yeah, and if you were to really pick out something from a Disneyland and fantasy, and you really wanted to make it a reality, where would you like to be in 5 years? That's my question. I mean, it's a tough question, but that would be something I would ask if I was on the board. Like, where do we want to be?
Bianca,
You know,
have a
for me,
response?
sure. For me, if we're talking about the school as a whole and not, you know, necessarily where the board will be, but I would like to see us become more diverse in our population. I think that that's, you know, one of my goals, simply put.
Melissa?
So I think that I'd like to see us enrolling more students in our area and being seen more by the community, knowing that we're here. And my perfect 5-year goal would be that we would be at max capacity with as many teachers as we could afford to enroll and staff, and just thriving as a really strong school in our communities.
Jerry?
Okay. Everything, not everything, for the last 2 years, going on 2 years, you know, we've been consumed with issues in the pandemic, and it has caused things to change on one hand dramatically. However, I have to say that our school, or the way it's structured, and our staff was far more capable of doing the Zoom type instruction with students, where, you know, there was schools being shut down, and then all the other things that came out of that. I long for us to return to some sense of normalcy, which includes our, you know, we haven't collectively gotten together for 2 years. And there's a new board member that I have not yet met, that being Melissa. There are, in the beginning, because we're a new charter school entity, we had a roadmap, so to speak, of but there are lots of policies, procedures, you know, very fine details from a board's perspective, just in governance, situations that would come up that, oh, how are we gonna handle that? And then trying to find the right terminology, you know, and writing out something that, you know, we spent a lot of time revising a section of the bylaws, because everything that, and I'll attribute this to Bianca, you know, the first go around, it seemed to be wonky, and it just didn't sound right. And you know, so we've worked through all of that. That's from my perspective, you know, being the chairperson, running the board meetings. That's been important to me. And, you know, looking ahead, that I think we've finally gotten everything up to speed. You have to keep in mind that we were being a new entity, we had no credit record. You know, we had no established background with the state as far as, you know, numbers and just different things that would populate some of the forms that we have to fill out and so on, because we had no prior. There's no prior to compare it to. And I also look forward to having a full complement of the board, 5 members. We've gone through spells of not having one board member and then 2 board members, and it's been hard. There is 3 of us that were part of the beginning, and we're still here. And there's no prediction of how long any one of us will remain. So that's pretty much how I address looking at the future. Amy?
Aside from COVID
Any
related
questions?
stuff, yeah.
So,
What are some of the biggest obstacles that you face as a board?
I won't just immediately chime in. Bianca?
Did you say what are some of the biggest obstacles we've faced?
Yes, ma'am.
Well, as Jerry was mentioning earlier, you know, being a new entity, right? So coming up with so much policy on our own. Obviously, there are there's some language out there to glean from, of course, but figuring out what made the most sense for us was a bit of an obstacle. At least I could speak for myself. I think we've done a great job, though, with that in mind. You know, I have to say, and maybe it's because I'm in good company, you know, even when there has been controversial topics, it's never really felt as something too hard or too high for us to get past. Yeah, I can't say that there's been any major obstacle for us, obviously needing to transition due to the pandemic. But again, I think our communications are so open with one another that it's been relatively smooth. Obviously, I'm also a parent to a child here, so I have both perspectives. of this position and then also, seeing what comes home. And I have to say, I think it's been relatively smooth. Beyond that, I have no comment.
Thank you, Bianca.
Melissa?
So I'm the new board member and I've been here since about February. And so I guess I would say that I have limited observation on our obstacles. And I would say that already since I've been here, there has been one time where we didn't know if charter schools that were as small as ours would survive, changes in government relating to education. And that was a little bit frightening, but it felt like everyone stayed really positive, made effort to reach out to the community. So it didn't feel like an obstacle. It felt like we were just going to do whatever we needed to do and make it work if we could. And so I would say the biggest obstacle that I've seen us face is not having enough board members to have a meeting when a couple people were sick.
That's a good point.
So it's pretty smooth here.
Good, thank you. An obstacle that Melissa nailed it, that not having a full board, 5 members, we have to have 3 present in order to have a quorum. And we just recently were unable to have our regularly scheduled board meeting, due to not being able to have a quorum. And it's the nature of the beast, so to speak, that unlike traditional school boards being elected by the public, we were like current board members were basically selected through a word of mouth. Hey, how about this person? Some connection to the school. This person would make a good board member. See if they're interested and so on. And that plays into it. And everybody has families. Family comes first. And whatever comes up, that it's just bad timing. A new puppy gets skunked just prior to leaving to come to a board meeting. Just flu and cold season. Well, now it's also COVID. People get sick. It's so that's stressful, or surgeries that prevent somebody from being able to attend or travel to a location for that. But the big obstacle has been the pandemic. But beyond that, there, aside from, and it's a matter of perspective, the state budget, which we have no control over. It ebbs and flows, we've had to make juggle things, make special arrangements to pay bills and make ends meet when the state was in trouble. But then when the state's flush, then got all kinds of things available to us. That's sort of all I can think of. off the top of my head.
Thank you.
So that's the only questions you have for us?
I think so.
Okay. Well, on behalf of everybody, I thank you very much for your willingness to step up and come forward and express your interest in filling one of our vacancies. I do have to say that both of you would be worthy of serving. And therefore, in my humble opinion, what you've told us today is making it a very difficult situation for us to make a decision. And the way this works is because, again, it's born out of the Brown Act that in open session, we have to make, we've heard your answers. You've seen me take notes, and no doubt Bianca and Melissa have done the same thing. And now it's time for us to deliberate in front of you.
Oh, that's fun.
Yeah.
And
Was not expecting that.
and
Like, you want me to take a break?
make comments and it's just it's awkward to say the least. Can be. Some people are good at framing their comments or questions to another without offending someone. And we've not done this very often, but it's just one of the things that has to happen.
Yeah, it'll build character.
Yes.
I didn't know if anybody figured it out, but Brian and I actually do know each
Well,
other.
that- Yeah,
So
we figured that out.
Okay.
Yeah, we were
that's
talking.
funny.
It's all good.
Yes, and to a degree, it's at least from my perspective, it's unfortunate that Rosemary is not able to attend and participate in this. Because each one of us, the three of us, brings something different to the table. Both Bianca and Melissa have young children. Rosemary has grandchildren connected to the school. As I said this the other day, my only connection has been to Sherry and to a degree then Linda and Tammy because of my wife serving as a counselor at the very last days of the Natal. So my connection largely now is to Sherry. We were once former colleagues. Anyway, having said that, I'm just going to go around and everyone's going to have to share their thoughts, which way they're leaning, or point out something that you felt was a really outstanding answer. And we'll just try to weave our way through this and hopefully make a decision. That's the ideal for sure. And then it'll be done in the form of a motion with a second and then a vote. Is hopefully that's understandable. So following my pattern, what say you, Bianca?
Thank you, Jerry. Now I'm just reviewing my notes here. I do want to make a point of clarification. We're not allowed to ask follow-up questions, correct? Based on our notes?
I'd say if you did, it would have to, you'd have to ask both on the same question.
Yeah, it would have to be presented to both candidates because it's all about a matter of fairness and equity.
Okay. I'll make some observations. Brian, I noticed that you mentioned community often. That seems quite important to you. And I appreciate that. And it sounds as though you mean the whole area, not just the school family, but geographically speaking, much of Humboldt is what I'm gathering from you. And so I do appreciate that. That's not to say, Amy, that I don't think that you appreciate community based on your answers and based on your application. I do think that you also do, but I noticed that your answers were more specific to the school community. And so for me, when I think about branching out away from the school, that makes me lean a little, let me rephrase that. When I think about diversifying our student population and our family population, it makes me lean a little bit more towards the larger community. And I heard Brian speak more to that this evening than I did from you. So that's one aspect of what I've taken in this evening. What else? I do appreciate that, Amy, you seem to already better understand our procedures within the school, not necessarily how a board operates. But as you said, you're a quick learner. So I do also appreciate that, and admitting that you don't know it all. I very much appreciate that in a person. But I do like that you understand what goes on a sort of a daily level. With that being said, Brian, I also understand that you have a general sense of public school system, and having a child that has an IEP also gives you a special outlook. Can y'all hear me okay? I want to make sure.
Yeah.
Yeah,
We're just listening intently.
yeah.
Very good. So those are some of my initial comments. Jerry, if you'd like to chime in or have Melissa chime in.
Should I go?
Shared.
I thought you said shares.
Can you repeat?
What was that last thing you said, Bianca?
I said those are some of my initial observations and comments. So if you'd like to have yourself or Melissa chime in.
Okay. Okay, Melissa,
I really appreciate both of your perspectives for sure. I feel like you both have a lot to offer, and I wish that we could be a board of 6. um, so I actually really appreciated, I feel like Amy has brought herself into a place of leadership in the community wherever she goes. I thought that was a really respectable aim, especially as being a mother, which I know it's hard to make time to do those things as a mom with all the mom jobs. I really appreciate, Brian, your enthusiasm and drive. Your words when you said drive, I'm like, yeah, well, that runs a school for sure. So thank you. Amy, I appreciated that. I feel like I have a sense that you'd be good under stress. And I could see that you would think non-biasly. And I feel that you would be non-judgmental and inclusive. Brian, I could see that you have an interest in public schools of all types, and I feel you both have a strong passion to help the community. I appreciated about you, Amy, that you want the best for the school, even if that isn't you. And that makes me feel like you would be a good contribution to the school, to the board. I feel like, Brian, you would definitely help us when it comes to financial support and coming up with good ways to grow. And I feel like Amy has a drive to bring in the community, and that's one of my passions as well. So I think my question for the board is kind of, what are our biggest needs? Maybe for Sherry, if you can kind of, if you could maybe, if this is possible, you let us know what our school needs, like what is, if you could answer the question of where do you see us going and what is our struggle, that might help us to kind of see which candidate could help fulfill those needs. Is that possible, Sherry?
Sure. Do you want me to answer that now, or do you want Jerry to do your summary? Okay. It's interesting listening to you guys say where you would want us to be in 5 years and what you think our challenges are. Because those were such good questions that you would think that we would ask that a lot. But I think sometimes when we're in these board meetings, we're going through business. You know, it's like taking care of, like checking off the things we need to do and not talking vision so much, or some of those bigger, you know, we don't really have the conversations all the time about those bigger pictures. And maybe that's what you had mentioned. Since the pandemic, we hadn't been able to get together all, you know, but when we did get together, that's the kind of thing we worked on. So I think that maybe that's a piece that has been lacking since that. But
yeah, because we did the handle.
yeah, right. So for me, where I would want us to be 5 years from now, you guys kind of addressed that as the board specifically, but I was thinking of it as our school. Where would I want our school to be 5 years from now? And so first of all, I would want us to own our own facilities. And that has been one of our biggest challenges, is finding a facility for us. So I would want us to be able to own our own facilities In terms of our high school programs, I would want us to have a lot more CTE pathways. I would want our high school graduates, a higher percentage of them to be graduating with A through G eligibility, meaning they are prepared to enter college or the workforce. I do want us to grow. I feel like our enrollment is much lower right now than I would like. I don't remember now who it was that said this. I can't remember which of you answered in this way. Somebody said something about, maybe it was Melissa, something about our school being more well-known in the community. That, I feel like that is something that we have been working on for a long time. I can't tell you how many times I meet people that have never heard of our school. And it's funny because we're one of the few schools that actually advertise. Most schools don't advertise, and we do a lot of advertising and still people don't know who we are. So some of those kinds of things were what I was thinking of what I want to see 5 years from now. A richer program, even though we have a lot to offer now, I'd like to see like clubs and sports and after school things, a lot of those kinds of things that we haven't really been able to kind of institutionalize. Challenges definitely have been facilities. Probably, honestly, the biggest challenge is something that's somewhat out of our control, beyond like public advocacy and like lobbying policymakers and things, but I think you alluded to this at one point, Brian, that charter schools are often kind of in the crosshairs. And it does seem like over the course of the last several years, there have been a lot of anti-charter school bills being proposed in legislature. And so those are kinds of things that are just these ongoing challenges that can be pretty demoralizing to staff. It makes you feel like there's not a lot of stability sometimes. And that has, that's something that's a big challenge that we're always working against. And I think one of the biggest ways we combat that is the care that you mentioned, Amy, that you see, that care is between staff as well. And I think we often, the staff feels like a family and we support each other through those and we trust each other. And so I think that when those things are coming our way, we trust that we're going to make it through and we're going to be there for each other. But anyway, those are some of the challenges that I have seen as kind of the legislature, the facilities, the ups and downs, like you said, Jerry, always of the flow of the state's economy, because we are a public school, all of our money comes from the state. So when the state's economy is doing well, we're doing well. When the state's economy is doing poor, we're doing poor. And so there's always that kind of up and down with that. But anyway, that I don't know if that helped you with your decision making at all, Melissa, but thank you for giving me that opportunity.
I do definitely appreciate your input. Thank you.
So anything further, Melissa?
I think I'd like to hear what you have to say, Joe.
Yeah, okay. Well, kind of taking off from some of Sherry's comments, just for clarification of things that I said. So, keeping in mind that we're a new entity, and so we're building, and getting the word out, and we had one of you will come to know about a WASC review. So it's an official education review of your entire program and budget, all the different pieces. So we had that, had the opportunity to go out to the different sites and see people and connect, and it was a whole family effort. Family, I mean, including board members and some staff members, and got to see and connect. And so we're feeling really good about ourselves. We have in the fall, prior to the beginning of school, 2 days of a summit held here, and, you know, lots of camaraderie, new staff and old staff, and, you know, getting together and, you know, seeing old friends that you hadn't seen over the summer kind of thing. And then COVID hits and things start to shift, and then, you know, are we going to be open? Or are we not going to be open? And then what's it going to take for us to reopen? Certain criteria, both Humboldt and Siskiyou, out of the state's counties, are some of the, I won't miss the words, worst in the state, positivity rate wise. I mean, dang, just 480 COVID cases since, see, they didn't report them on Friday, and then Monday was a holiday, so it was like 210 cases per day. And, you know, the Sherry and I talk about this all the time. The positivity rate is just through the roof. And, you know, so anyway, you know, we're moving forward with that. The state's been good to us financially after 1 year where it wasn't so good. You know, we had to take out a loan to make ends meet, and state was going to eventually give us the money, but not in a timely manner to be able to, you know, cash flow and meet our obligations. So yes, you know, we would aspire to the sports programs and, you know, all these great after school programs and, you know, all these different connections and opportunities for students. So we're still, you know, hopeful for that. So, but Sherry is right that a lot of what we do is just the mundane school business. Many things are routine that come up year after year. We've waded through coming up to speed with lots of things and policies and policy handbooks and that. And so we're getting pretty squared away along those lines. Every once in a while, something new will come up. You know, there's a situation that arises that, oh, well, we need to figure out how we're going to handle it. Recent one has been vaccinations, and this is not dealing with COVID. Yeah, that's the other shoe that's going to drop, that we'll have to make a decision about, you know, and so on. And in some cases, you have to understand we don't have a lot of options or choices because we're mandated by the state, or even because of the programs we take advantage of, and we get federal money for the federal government dictates, you know, what we can and cannot do because we're accepting this money. So, as I said before, each of you are worthy to be sitting up here at the table. No doubt about that. You know, I would encourage you to, I mean, we can only select one of you right now. But I would encourage both of you to not lose interest, because you never know when something comes up and there'll be another vacancy, say here in Humboldt. Because remember, there's 3 here and 2 in Siskiyou. I mean, you both have excellent backgrounds, strong backgrounds in uh, wherever you've gone, you've gotten involved, where you've gone or been, you've gotten involved in your community. And it's a matter of perspective as to which is more worthy than the other. I mean, because the bottom line is you're willing to give your time and energy to something else beyond just yourself. You're both parents, and you both have, what caught my attention. Dealing with individuals that are different, special needs, and the whole realm of special education and IEPs is extremely important, and it's on one hand, it's why for some families are drawn to the charter school because they feel that they're getting more attention, to what they need. And then certainly the diversity component, a trans student, in today's climate is drawing a lot more attention and awareness. It doesn't make it any easier, but that's a special stress, talent to weave your way through the system with both of those. So, I can't say one's better than the other. I look at it from the perspective of a school trying to provide services and making sure that there's no discrimination and everybody's being treated fairly and equally. So that jumped out to me from both of you. You both have, again, it's a matter of perspective, but boards and councils dealing with financial issues, budgets, that definitely is a plus. Sherry alluded to the charter schools because of the the State Teachers Association has the ear of assemblymen or women in the state legislature to come up with laws that are highly restrictive to charter schools, and that's a problem, and that's something that we're dealing with on an ongoing basis. All the intricacies of that. So charter schools do play a major role, and we've both acknowledged that. One directly having students involved, and the other, that definitely is a plus, but that can't discount the fact that Brian has no child in our charter school. He knows people who have involvement or experience with our charter school. Amy, you would know firsthand because you can talk to Rebecca. You've interacted with her. That is a good thing, but it's doesn't preclude someone that isn't involved. It's, I mean, it's, as I said earlier, you've made our decision extremely difficult. I mean, and that's a compliment to both of you. Believe me, I really like, and I mean, as Melissa picked up on it, I can't remember if Bianca had mentioned it as well, that Brian, you talked a lot about community, and Jefferson, and all of that. Some of those things I'm aware of, and trying to get community mobilized. You both had mentioned, spent time talking about fundraising. Fundraising, of course, that's.
Here's some information.
I turned you off.
We'll get the memo.
Yes, sorry. Fundraising. Both Julie and Rebecca do events to generate money for various things, and it's more than just the dollars and cents. It's it's really also about bringing people together and interacting, bringing parents in. Different parents get to see one another and building that community. So I really don't have a strong preference.
I think we just call for a motion at this point.
And it's one of those things. So let me go back to Bianca and Melissa. I'm sure what I've just been rambling on about hasn't been helpful. And I kind of, in my position, because I'm chairperson, I can come out with a strong, feeling, and that just by the nature of my position, that carries weight. And so I have to always remind myself of what I say in certain situations, because I'm the chairperson, and I'm old school in that chain of command and the hierarchy that carries weight. And so that could be persuasive to the others, especially if they don't have a clear cut, feeling. But I haven't, I don't believe I have articulated a strong position one way or the other. Because as I said to begin with, you're both superb possibilities to join us on the board. So Bianca and Melissa, do you have any further things to say or ask or comment on?
Okay, so I guess I'll just let you guys know who I would like to choose, though I would love to choose you both. And there's so many reasons that I would choose both of you. I'll just let the board know the reasons that I'm specifically choosing this candidate. I have a bunch of things written down. Some of them are quotes and others are my paraphrasing. So I would like to have Okay. So I would like to choose Amy for our board, and for the reasons being, I'll just shorthand it. Things that stuck out to me is complying to law, being vocal and passionate, caring for safety and well-being in the home life, make people feel heard and cared for, see where the lack in supporting the children is, and bring that to our attention. I feel like you would do that, Amy. I feel like you would see where we were not meeting the need of the community, and maybe, for instance, when it comes to the home life, and maybe safety there, that's very important to me. But it wasn't something that I really thought of when I was answering these questions. So it made me feel like, oh, that's important. And I didn't even think of that. Empowering the school families to contribute. And I liked how you said that you would like what's best for the majority, as well as fulfilling the needs of the minority. So I feel like that is very balanced and both crucial. So that's my choice.
I'm sorry, I missed that. So she made a motion to
No.
nominate.
No,
Oh.
not yet.
Oh.
She's
Would
just,
you like to make a motion? Oh.
giving
Good.
her,
How do I do that?
I didn't hear the,
I'm
making
sorry.
the motion, just where she's coming from and, articulating that. So, Bianca?
I can't argue with anything that Melissa has said. And so if you'd like to make a motion.
Okay, well, I will like to make a motion to appoint Amy as a part of our school board. I don't know if I said that right.
Is there a second?
I'll second the motion.
All right, it's been moved and seconded to select Amy Snyder to fill our board vacancy. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Bianca?
Aye.
Melissa?
Aye.
And I'll also approve. So the motion carries, and Amy, welcome to the board.
And thank you both.
Yeah,
And,
Yeah,
and
thank
believe
you
me,
both.
thank you both. It's, as I said, it's been just a coin flip. Maybe there'll be a resignation in the future on the Humboldt side. And don't lose interest, Brian.
sure.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, so, okay, let me find my. So, one of the things that we didn't talk about was swearing in.
That's the beginning of the next meeting.
Right, okay,
So Amy, I'll reach out to you and we'll get together and have like a training. I have a board handbook for you. I have 2 big binders actually to give you and kind of to go through, give you an overview. And then you'll be sworn in at our next regular board meeting, which is February. And you'll be sitting up here, and get your name ordered.
right, there's a variety of things Sherry will give you and require of you. Because then it's an email address, a contact phone number, cell number, because share that among the board. And Sherry will get you up and running, and you can also feel free to reach out to me for whatever reason. For whatever it's worth, I've been chair since the beginning. So I don't profess to know everything. So anyway, all right. So there's no so we've dealt with 4.1 at the motion 5, the next board meeting will, as Sherry said, be February 10th. And we'll start off with the swearing in of the new member and other things that you'll be sending out. That, so without anything else, I'll adjourn this meeting at 7:39.
Thank you,
All
guys.
right.
Thank you.
And thank all of you, Melissa
guys.
and Bianca, thank you, and all of you who zoomed in, I appreciate it.
Oh, I
Thank you.
And thank you so much.
All right.
Thank
Get it up. I just gave it to you.
Oh, you're